A guy who was not a first-round pick in 2010, Chris Sims, Rob Gronkowski, he fell to round 2 because of health concerns, became a first-ballot Hall of Famer at tight end, retired after the 2018 season. And here we are on this Wednesday morning, one day before the draft, waking up to the news that Rob Gronkowski happened so quickly late yesterday afternoon, one development after another. And before you knew it, both teams were announcing the trade that sends Gronk to Tampa Bay. Gronk plus a 7th-round pick from the Patriots for a 4th-round pick from the Buccaneers, out of retirement after 1 year, honoring his contract, 1 year left. He's going to make up to $10 million in Tampa Bay, reunited with his good friend Tom Brady. There will be more dancing one way or another from Rob Gronkowski in 2020.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's awesome. It really is. It's not shocking, but yet it's still like, surprising, I guess. Rob Gronkowski told us, when there was the rumors there the year before, that offseason before his last season, remember, we had been told that New England had called Detroit, tried to trade Rob Gronkowski, things like that. He was on the market. Gronk made comments like he'll never play for another quarterback other than Tom Brady. And, I believe him. Of course, I believe him now, but I believed him then. I think there's a true bond there. He's been spoiled by the New England way, by Brady throwing him perfect passes all the time. He just goes, but why would I want to deal with anything else? But I think the New England way kind of wore him out, and his body's feeling rejuvenated, and he's probably talked to Brady a little bit, and he sits there and goes, man, okay, Tampa, Florida, the team looks exciting. What, Tom? Bruce Arians awesome to be around? Okay, cool. Let's do it. Oh, yeah, and you'll give me $10 million? Okay, let's definitely do it. So it's amazing. It just adds to the excitement. I'm excited for, my old city there, Tampa Bay, because this is a fan base that loves football. They fly a little under the radar, and they're getting a real treat this year with that football team.
Hey, I want to see Gronk party with Carol Baskin. I want to see
Carol
Gronk at a big cat rescue. Yeah, they won't be feeding Gronk to the Tigers, that's for sure. They're going to be feeding the Tigers to Gronk when Gronk takes over Tampa. Although we are not advocating the consumption of Tigers. That is just a play on words. All right, one point that we didn't make last hour that I think is very important that we get to. The idea that the Buccaneers had to give up anything to get Rob Gronkowski. He doesn't play for the Patriots anymore. He's retired. He was never going to play for the Patriots again. Look, the problem is when you retire and the team puts you on the reserve/retired list, you continue to be the property of the team indefinitely until they release you from the reserve retired list. So if somebody else wants Gronk or any other retired player, they're on the reserve retired list of another team. That team can finagle something out of it. And the only way that Gronk could have combated this, Chris, would have been to just unretire and join the Patriots again like Brett Favre did with the Packers in 2008. Now, with Favre and the Packers in 2008, the Packers had the cap space to reabsorb what was a $12 million salary at the time for Brett Favre. The Patriots don't have the cap space and wouldn't have had the cap space to take on that $10 million that Gronk is due to make this year. They would have had to have cut him or dramatically restructured deals or cut someone else or done something to get under the salary cap, and they wouldn't have had a long time to do it. So Gronk could have done that. The Buccaneers could have gotten him for nothing if he had forced his way out, but he just didn't want to do it. I was told, look, this guy's got a good relationship with the organization in New England. He doesn't want to screw that up. And so at the end of the day, the Buccaneers had to give up something to get a guy who was never going to play for the Patriots ever again. And it really is found money for the Patriots. They got something literally for nothing because they were never going to have Gronk on their roster again.
Well, yeah, I mean, first off, it sounds like Gronkowski, Brady, and neither one of them, I don't think, want to screw over the Patriots. They're always going to have a special place in their heart for that city, the organization, everything they did there. And yeah, that was the common text I got from my friends. Why did Tampa trade anything for him? Why didn't they just force New England just to be in cap hell like you just explained and then have to cut him and then get him for free? And I thought, yeah, that doesn't make sense. I don't get that. And then I thought about what you said just there a second ago. Oh, the relationship. He doesn't want to screw them over. But then I thought a little more deeply about it, Mike. And I thought, wait, if New England was going to get compensation back, because New England, to me, Mike, and you correct me if I'm wrong, I think they could hold the oh, we think you tampered with Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and either we have a trade conversation here or we'll call the league office. I mean, do you think that's a possibility? I have no knowledge of that, but I would think that goes into this conversation a little as well.
I think it's one of those weapons that maybe the Patriots didn't have to reach for as it related to the Buccaneers because they've used it in the past, right? We've seen tampering allegations made by the Patriots. We've seen them made against the Patriots. There was that stupid one the Jets made simply because Robert Kraft mentioned Darrelle Revis after he had left the Patriots and signed with the Jets several years ago. But I think that from the Buccaneers' perspective, and, you and I have heard the rumors and the rumblings, and it's all uncorroborated and unsubstantiated. But look, I remember after Brady did the deal with the Buccaneers, how hard the Buccaneers were trying to sell to the media the idea that Bruce Arians, the coach of the team, Jason Light, the GM of the team, didn't talk at all at any time ever to Brady until the Wednesday night that free agency opened, when the deal was already done. We already knew a day earlier he was going to Tampa. There's no way in hell Tom Brady's going to Tampa without talking to Bruce Arians and Jason Light ahead of time about that deal. There's no way that's happening. So maybe they already knew they were on thin ice. And, yeah, you think about all the possibilities and maybe you entertain the idea that, hey, Gronk, all you have to do is show up and say, hey, you got to deal with my $10 million cap charge. I guess you have to cut me. You're right. At some point, you're going to stir the pot enough that it's going to potentially explode on you, and you're going to be dealing with a couple of tampering charges from the New England Patriots, as to Brady and as to Gronk. So maybe that's another reason why it didn't progress. But at the end of the day, look, it shows you the value of having an organization that engenders goodwill with its players. We talked last hour about DeAndre Hopkins, how badly he wanted out of Houston. He would have done whatever he had to do. If he had to make an aggressive stance, he would have done it, and he did. Gronk wants to have that relationship with the Patriots moving forward. He wants to have the relationship with Boston moving forward, as does Tom Brady. And I think it makes it even more important that it's not perceived that you're screwing the Patriots on the way out.
That's right. Yeah, I think so. I think you're exactly right. Let alone, we know the GM, Jason Light, down there in Tampa. He worked in New England. I was there with him for a short time before he had moved on, I believe, to Arizona after that. And he's a good guy. And I think he left on good terms in New England as well, to where I don't think he's trying to look to screw over the Patriots completely either. So, yeah, I agree with everything you said there. And I, of course, think Brady and Gronk don't want to be viewed as villains to the Boston fan base. But, I think I'm just fascinated by it from the football standpoint, because to me, now Tampa has kind of what New England has had in their prime. There's three offensive weapons on the field where, if I don't care how good your defense is, you go, damn, I don't know who to stop between Gronk, Mike Evans, who's one of the 3 or 4 or 5 best receivers in football, and Chris Godwin, who's in the conversation for top 10, top 12 receiver. This is where you get to be a scary offense. When you have this many talented moving parts that you can, change formations and move people in different spots, to where it's going to make it really tough on a defense, let alone, Mike, if they can get a right tackle in their 14th pick of the first round. And then the one thing they're missing, I look at, if they get a running back, like if I'm Tampa, I'm looking to trade up in the second round and have my pick of the litter for running back. And if they have that, oh my gosh, go for it, Tampa, do it. Right now you got a team on paper that can win the Super Bowl, and I think you got the leaders in place to keep that on track and actually win a Super Bowl, or at least be there, or be in that conversation. And to me, that would be the last piece of the puzzle. If they can get that real difference-making running back, which I think there'll be a lot there to have early in the second round, I just look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and go, oh my gosh, they're going to be so good. They might be one of the best teams in the NFC.
But let's not crown them yet. Right?
I know. Yeah.
Because here's the thing.
Yeah.
When Brady and Gronk were together in New England, they benefited from a defense that was skilled and a defensive mastermind who knew how to get the most out of them. And there weren't major concerns about the defense being not good. In Tampa, there are concerns about how good the defense is going to be, and also the offensive line. What was the big discussion after Brady signed? In the Bruce Arians offense, the quarterback holds on to the ball a long time because they want to throw the ball down the field. And if you hold on to the ball too long and you're 43 years old, you may not be on the field for very long. So there are some concerns, I think, when it comes to this Buccaneers team because they don't have Dante Scarnecchia. They don't necessarily have a dominant offensive line or anything close to it, and their defense is a work in progress. So, there's reason to not schedule the parade for early February or whenever a parade would follow the Super Bowl this year, depending upon when the season starts and when it ends. But they've got concerns that are going to be glossed over as we get caught up in this frenzy.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And you can also say, hey, we think the team itself, even without Brady or Gronk, it's the second year with Todd Bowles, the second year with Bruce Arians. You would expect things to be better and smoother, all of that. But Mike, I'm glad you brought this up because we didn't get to this in the last hour. But we talked about maybe how we were talking about teams that might like Tua that trade out of the top 10 to maybe get him. Tampa's one of those teams that when I was sitting there doing my mock draft that I went, man, because to your point, they need an offensive lineman, specifically a right tackle. I mean, right now, Joe Haig is their right tackle. I don't think that's going to make Tom Brady feel comfortable. I could see them being a team, if they see a certain run of tackles go off in the top 5 or 6 picks, that they trade into the top 10 and just go, okay, we're going to get one of these tackles that we like right now and not risk sitting here at 14 hoping there's one there. I think those are like another thing I look for in the draft tomorrow night because I got to think their number one concern is, hey, if we want to throw the ball downfield, if we want Brady to work for 2 years, not one, we got to make sure he doesn't get the crap kicked out of him. And I just think there's a real possibility they might be a player to get up into that top 10 to get one of those tackles they like.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, they're going to need it. They're going to need it on the outside. They're going to need it on the inside because we've seen over time the way that you get to Brady, the way that you rattle Brady, the way that you beat Brady is with pressure up the middle in his face. He can navigate when the pocket collapses on the outside. Step up, step left, step right. That very, very subtle movement where he slides and he anticipates. When it's coming straight at him, he's not nearly as effective. So they need all 5 spots to be effective. They need to feel good about every offensive lineman, and they got to get them. Maybe they can get Dante Scarnecchia down in Tampa Bay to help out. He is retired, although he was out of retirement to help the New England Patriots at the scouting combine. However they do it, though, I think there are going to be some concerns that need to be addressed. And as you said, the draft is one place to do it. There could be other free agents they add. They need that defense to be better, and they need that offensive line to be good enough, and they need to have the time and the reps to get ready for the season. That's the limitation for everyone this year. But as you're trying to throw all these parts together, the teams with continuity are going to be in a better position to win, Chris. These teams that are throwing things together on the fly are going to have even more of a challenge to be as effective as they can be when it's time to play the games that count.
Yeah, no doubt about it. You're right. The teams that are bringing back their core group of players that haven't had as much movement, I think, do have an advantage. And especially, hey, with this instance here, quarterback learning a new offense. He's been in a certain language for 20 years. This is going to be totally different for him. Getting Gronk on the same page. I don't know. It makes you question, is Tampa going to be able to unveil the full force of their offense early on in the season? They might have to be a little simple just for everything to be cohesive and on the same page. But, I doubt that too. I think, Brady is an extremely smart individual. I think he's out to prove something right now. We know that. Gronk the same way. And I think that they'll do their best to really keep up to speed. I wouldn't be shocked if Brady's having like a Zoom session with Leftwich and Bruce Arians daily for hours at a time where they're teaching him the offense and the nuances and the little things like that.
Yeah, look, there are clear limitations on what can and can't be done. And I remember when your guy John Gruden got back into the NFL 2 years ago, he was upset that you had limits on the amount of time you could work with your players. I have a feeling those rules are being mildly fractured in this upside-down, topsy-turvy offseason.
Definitely, Mike, because if you got a player who's all in on football, right, and he loves it, he's not going to tell. I mean, I would have been one of those guys. I would have been like, hey, Gru, I'll be there tomorrow. Yeah, I know we might not supposed to be there, but I'll be in the building. If you want to watch some film, do something like that. Screw the NFL and their rules. I'll work as hard as I want to. Thank you very much, NFL. I'll do what the hell I want to do as a player. And when you have those kind of guys on an organization, the coaches know it. And then they can coach them and break the rules and know that they're not going to get told on. And I think there's a number of those in every organization, and I certainly think Tom Brady's one of those guys as well.
Yeah, I want to know if the rest of the story of Tom Brady being chased out of the closed public park in Tampa included an older gentleman sitting on a bench with a Kangol hat and a glass in his hand with brown liquid and ice in it.
Good throw, Tommy. Good throw.
All right. You know what? I've never heard anyone really do a Bruce Arians impersonation, but based on the one you just did, I never want to hear it again.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.